Are you sure these are the rules?
This photo from Flash Gordon looks wrong, and the strangest part is this: it isn't edited. It's a real blooper caught on camera, and once you notice it, it raises more questions than it answers. Join us as we take a closer look at this unedited Flash Gordon blooper and see where it leads. How Flash Gordon accidentally created Star Wars. Before Star Wars ever existed, it was supposed to be Flash Gordon. In the early 1970s, a young filmmaker named George Lucas had one clear goal. He wanted to remake Flash Gordon, the space hero he grew up loving. He imagined a modern version that kept the excitement of the old serials, but used new technology and faster pacing. Lucas went directly to King Features Syndicate, the company that owned Flash Gordon. Negotiations dragged on, became expensive, and eventually fell apart. The rights were too complicated and too restrictive. Lucas didn't want to wait or compromise his vision, so he made a risky decision. Instead of adapting Flash Gordon, he would create his own original space story from scratch. That decision changed everything. Lucas took the core ideas he loved and rebuilt them into a new universe. The brave and idealistic Flash Gordon became Luke Skywalker. Emperor Ming, the cruel ruler of Mongo, echoed forward into Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. Even the famous opening crawl in Star Wars came straight from the style of the old Flash Gordon serials, which used text to catch audiences up on the story. The look and feel carried over too. Space battles, clear heroes and villains, bold costumes, and simple moral lines all came from Flash's DNA. The irony is hard to miss. Flash Gordon didn't disappear, but it became best known for inspiring something even bigger. And this strange chain reaction is only the beginning of how Flash Gordon shaped pop culture in unexpected ways. When Federico Fellini almost directed Flash Gordon. Before Flash Gordon became the loud, colorful sci-fi spectacle we know, producer Dino De Laurentiis had a very different idea. He wanted Federico Fellini to direct it. Yes, that Fellini, the legendary filmmaker known for deeply personal, surreal, and dreamlike movies. De Laurentiis believed Fellini's visual imagination could turn Flash Gordon into something truly unforgettable. Fellini listened, but he said no. The reason was simple. He wasn't interested in making a loud, comic-style space adventure. His films focused on memory, fantasy, identity, and human emotion. The clear-cut heroes, villains, and non-stop action of Flash Gordon didn't match his creative instincts. He preferred stories that drifted, reflected, and questioned reality rather than charging straight ahead. Still, Fellini's name didn't fully disappear from the project. In a strange and playful nod, the filmmakers named Princess Aura's pet Fellini. Whether that was meant as a respectful tribute or a quiet joke remains unclear, but it shows his presence was remembered. After Fellini declined, Mike Hodges stepped in. His approach was completely different. He leaned into bold colors, exaggerated performances, and fast pacing. The shift in tone was dramatic. Even so, some moments still feel strangely dreamlike, especially the oversized sets, theatrical poses, and unreal atmosphere. Without meaning to, the film sometimes drifts close to Fellini's world anyway. And next, things only get louder, stranger, and more chaotic from here. The Batman writer. A huge reason Flash Gordon feels so wild and unapologetic is the man who wrote it, Lorenzo Semple Jr. Semple wasn't interested in realism or deep drama. His writing style leaned heavily into fun, color, and exaggeration. He believed that if a story was already outrageous, the worst thing you could do was pretend it wasn't. Semple brought that exact mindset from his earlier work on the 1960s Batman. That show didn't try to ground superheroes in reality. Instead, it celebrated comic book logic, bold dialogue, and theatrical villains. When Semple took on Flash Gordon, he treated it the same way. He followed the rules of pulp comics and never tried to tone them down. That's why Flash Gordon feels like several things at once. It plays like a comic strip brought to life, with bright colors, simple emotions, and big poses. It feels like a rock concert, especially with the energy of the soundtrack and the constant visual intensity. and it feels like a parody, but one played completely straight. No one is winking at the camera. The characters believe every word they say, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. This approach confused a lot of people. Audiences coming in after Star Wars expected something serious and epic. Instead, they got camp, drama, and excess. Many didn't know how to process it and rejected it outright. But that bold choice is exactly what made the film impossible to forget. And next up, the movie's strange habit of borrowing pieces from other films makes things even more interesting. Recycling the past. In the early days of Hollywood, studios reused everything they could, and Universal Studios was famous for it. Sets, costumes, props, and even entire rooms were recycled from one movie to the next. This wasn't laziness, it was practical. Building large sets was expensive, and studios worked fast. If something still looked good on camera, they used it again. That practice had a big effect on early Flash Gordon serials. Many of the futuristic labs and dark interiors didn't start as science fiction at all. They came straight from classic horror films like Frankenstein and the Mummy. The same stone walls, shadowy hallways, and towering machinery were simply repurposed and redressed for space adventures. This created something unusual. Flash Gordon's universe didn't feel clean or sleek. It felt dark, heavy, and mysterious. Gothic horror textures slipped into science fiction without anyone planning it. Space became eerie. Technology looked dangerous. Palaces and laboratories felt ancient instead of futuristic. Because the same sets appeared across different genres, there was a strange visual continuity in Hollywood films of that era. Horror, sci-fi, and fantasy all shared the same physical spaces. Audiences might not have noticed consciously, but the mood carried over. Flash Gordon ended up with an atmosphere that felt deeper and stranger than most early sci-fi. What started as budget saving became part of the film's identity. And next, one forgotten movie prop would quietly turn into one of science fiction's most famous images. Ming the Merciless. Ming the Merciless did not come from nowhere. He was created in the early 1930s, a time when Western culture was full of fear about powerful empires, global conflict, and the unknown. Science fiction often reflected those worries, and Ming became a symbol of them. He was designed to feel threatening, mysterious, and unstoppable to audiences of that era. One clear influence was Genghis Khan, the historical conqueror known for building one of the largest empires in history. Western writers often exaggerated and simplified figures like him, turning real history into myth. Ming borrowed that idea of a distant ruler who commanded vast armies and ruled through fear. Over time, that image blended with fictional fears rather than facts. Ming was also shaped by what is known as yellow peril, a racist stereotype common in early 20th century Western media. These ideas portrayed Asian characters as dangerous, foreign, and untrustworthy. Ming's appearance, behavior, and power were all influenced by those harmful beliefs. At the time, many audiences didn't question it. Today, it is clearly problematic. Despite this, Ming became one of the most recognizable villains in science fiction. His dramatic presence, ruthless authority, and theatrical style made him unforgettable. That's where the contradiction lies. He is iconic, but his origins are uncomfortable. Looking at Ming today means acknowledging both truths. We can recognize his impact on pop culture while also being honest about the fears and prejudices that shaped him. And coming up next, one forgotten movie prop tells a surprising story about failure turning into legend. A rocket ship from a failed sci-fi musical. Long before Flash Gordon became a science fiction icon, one of its most famous visuals already existed. The sleek, pointed rocket ship didn't start with Flash at all. It came from a mostly forgotten 1930 movie called Just Imagine. Yes, it was a science fiction musical that tried to predict what life in the 1980s would look like, complete with space travel, future cities, and big ideas. At the time, Just Imagine was ambitious, but unsuccessful. Audiences didn't connect with it, critics weren't impressed, and the movie quickly faded away. But the physical props remained, including its expensive rocket ship. Studios didn't throw things away back then, they reused them. When Universal needed a spaceship for the Flash Gordon serial, the old rocket was sitting there, ready to go. With a few changes and a fresh coat of paint, that failed musical's rocket was launched into a new story. Suddenly, it wasn't part of a forgotten experiment. It became the vehicle that carried Flash Gordon across space and into pop culture history. Over time, that rocket became one of the most recognizable images in early science fiction. This kind of studio thrift was common, but the results were unpredictable. Sometimes reused props disappeared unnoticed. Other times, like this one, they became legendary. One movie failed and vanished. The other turned borrowed leftovers into something unforgettable. And next, the Flash Gordon story takes a sharp turn when real-world dictators decided a space hero was too dangerous to exist. Why fascist regimes banned Flash Gordon? It may sound strange now, but Flash Gordon was once seen as a serious threat by real governments. In the 1930s, the comic strip was banned in both Nazi Germany and fascist Italy. To those regimes, Flash Gordon wasn't harmless entertainment. It was dangerous. The reason was the story itself. Flash Gordon constantly fought against tyrants. He challenged emperors, overthrew dictators, and helped oppressed people rise up against cruel rulers. Ming the Merciless ruled through fear, force, and absolute control, and Flash's entire mission was to stop him. That message hit too close to home for authoritarian governments built on obedience and power. Nazi and fascist leaders were deeply suspicious of any media that promoted rebellion or questioned authority. Even though Flash Gordon took place in space, the themes were clear. Stand up to evil leadership. Fight back when freedom is taken away. Don't accept oppression as normal. For dictators who depended on control, those ideas were unacceptable, even in a comic strip aimed at young readers. What makes this even more striking is that Flash Gordon was seen by many as simple adventure fiction. Ray guns, rocket ships, and alien worlds didn't feel political to everyday readers, but dictators understood the power of stories. They feared that heroic rebellion, even in fantasy form, could inspire real-world resistance. So while children elsewhere were enjoying space adventures, entire countries were blocking them out of fear. And coming up next, Flash Gordon gets oddly close to predicting one of the most terrifying weapons in human history. Pink Floyd almost did the soundtrack. When Flash Gordon was still coming together, director Mike Hodges had a very different sound in mind. His first choice for the soundtrack was Pink Floyd. At the time, it made perfect sense. Pink Floyd was known for long, atmospheric songs and space-themed music. Albums like The Dark Side of the Moon already felt cosmic and reflective, and Hodges thought that style could give the film a serious, moody tone. But the final call didn't belong to Hodges. Producer Dino De Laurentiis stepped in and chose Queen instead. Queen wasn't the obvious sci-fi choice on paper, but De Laurentiis wanted something bold, loud, and instantly memorable. He wanted music that would match the film's bright colors and over-the-top energy. There was an awkward moment when Queen first arrived on set. The Dark Side of the Moon was playing in the background, and Hodges admitted it was embarrassing. Still, Queen jumped into the project fully. Freddie Mercury and the band didn't hold back. They created a soundtrack filled with powerful vocals, sharp beats, and dramatic flair. In the end, Queen fit the movie better than anyone expected. Their music didn't try to ground the film or make it serious. It embraced the chaos, the drama, and the fun. Today, it's impossible to imagine Flash Gordon without that booming Flash theme. And next, the wild costumes come with a hidden price that one actor felt every single day. The costume, so heavy Ming couldn't sit down. When people think of Ming the Merciless in Flash Gordon, they often picture a calm, powerful ruler sitting comfortably on his throne. Behind the scenes, the reality was very different. The role was played by Max von Sydow, an actor known for serious and demanding performances. Many fans misremember who played Ming, but von Sydow's presence made the character unforgettable. The biggest challenge wasn't the acting, it was the costume. Ming's outfit weighed around 40 pounds. It was made of heavy fabrics, rigid armor pieces, metal details, and a massive collar that limited movement. Wearing it for long periods was exhausting. Sitting down was nearly impossible. The costume simply didn't bend the way a human body needs it to. Between takes, Von Sydow couldn't relax in a chair like the rest of the cast. Instead, crew members laid a flat board on the ground so he could lie down and rest while still wearing the costume. Standing back up took time and help. Every scene required physical effort before a single line was spoken. What makes this more impressive is how little of that strain shows on screen. Ming appears controlled, still, and confident. That calm power came at a real physical cost. The costume looked incredible, but it punished the actor wearing it. In Flash Gordon, costume design was meant to impress the audience, and it did. But for the actors inside those outfits, especially Von Sydow, it was also a test of endurance. And next, the casting of Flash himself turns out to be just as unexpected as Ming's throne was uncomfortable. Flash Gordon was cast from a dating game. Before Flash Gordon locked in its leading man, the producers aimed much higher in terms of fame. Kurt Russell was the first serious choice. He read the script and passed, feeling the character didn't offer much depth. Arnold Schwarzenegger was also considered, but his strong Austrian accent made him a poor fit for a clean-cut American hero meant to deliver clear, simple dialogue. With those options gone, fate stepped in from an unexpected place. Television. Sam J. Jones wasn't an established actor at all. He appeared as a contestant on the dating game and didn't even win. But someone working for producer Dino De Laurentiis happened to see him on screen and immediately took notice. Tall, athletic, confident, and camera-friendly, Jones looked exactly like the Flash Gordon character had always been drawn. Jones had no real acting pedigree. His experience was limited, and his resume was thin, but that wasn't a deal-breaker. Flash Gordon wasn't written as a complex or emotional role. He was meant to be bold, heroic, and instantly likable. The character needed presence more than performance range, and Jones had that in abundance. His background as a former football player helped sell the physicality of the role. Flash was supposed to look like someone who could survive sword fights, space battles, and impossible odds without hesitation. And next, one of the movie's most famous action scenes wasn't planned at all. It was invented on the spot. One actor played all. Long before modern superheroes took over movie screens, one man quietly became the face of pulp adventure. That man was Buster Crabbe, and his career is unmatched even today. He is the only actor in history to play Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, and Tarzan, three of the most important adventure heroes of the early 20th century. Crabbe didn't start in Hollywood. He was an Olympic swimmer who won a gold medal in the 1932 Los Angeles Games. His athletic build, confidence, and physical control made him a natural fit for action roles at a time when stunt work and physical performance mattered more than dramatic dialogue. Studios quickly saw his potential, and he was soon cast in leading roles that required strength, bravery, and constant movement. In 1933, Crabbe played Tarzan, the king of the jungle. A few years later, he became Flash Gordon in the hugely popular serials that defined early science fiction on screen. Then, in 1939, he took on Buck Rogers, another space hero who pushed adventure even further into the future. No other actor carried so many iconic roles across fantasy, jungle adventure, and science fiction. Decades later, Crabbe made a cameo appearance in the 1980 Flash Gordon. It was a small moment, but a meaningful one. It felt like a quiet passing of the torch from the original Flash to the next generation. And next, a small behind-the-scenes conflict would change how the hero of Flash Gordon sounded forever. Flash Gordon exists because John Carter failed. The creation of Flash Gordon wasn't planned as a bold new idea. It happened because another plan fell apart. In the early 1930s, King Features Syndicate wanted to cash in on the growing popularity of science fiction by adapting John Carter of Mars, the famous adventure stories created by Edgar Rice Burroughs. The character already had a loyal fan base, and the space setting felt perfect for newspaper comics. But the deal never happened. The rights were unavailable, negotiations failed, and King Features suddenly had nothing to publish. Instead of walking away from the idea, they chose to build their own space hero from the ground up. They turned to illustrator Alex Raymond and asked him to create something just as exciting but completely original. Raymond delivered quickly and confidently. He designed Flash Gordon as a tall, athletic, all-American hero with a strong jaw, simple morals, and instant appeal. The artwork was clean, detailed, and dramatic. Within months of its debut in 1934, Flash Gordon became a massive success. Readers were drawn to the bold visuals, fast-paced storytelling, and exotic worlds. What makes this story so surprising is that Flash Gordon began as a backup plan. He wasn't meant to replace John Carter forever, but over time, Flash became the standard for pulp science fiction heroes. Meanwhile, John Carter faded into cult status, while Flash exploded across comics, serials, and film. One failed license didn't end a project. It created a legend, the 1939 World's Fair rocket ride. By the late 1930s, Flash Gordon was so popular that it jumped off the page and into real life. At the New York World's Fair, visitors could experience a full Flash Gordon-themed rocket ride. This wasn't a small attraction. It was a massive installation designed to feel like a journey into space. The rocket ride could hold around 150 people at once. Guests boarded a large spaceship-shaped structure and took their seats as the mission began. Once inside, the ride used vibrating seats, flashing lights, projected images, and sound effects to simulate liftoff and space travel. For audiences in 1939, this was astonishing. Most people had never seen anything like it. The ride's story sent passengers to the planet Venus, where they encountered alien environments, strange creatures, and futuristic machines. The visuals were bold and theatrical, filled with painted backdrops, mechanical monsters, and performers in elaborate costumes. It didn't strictly follow the comics, but accuracy wasn't the point. The goal was excitement and immersion. What makes this ride so remarkable is how far ahead of its time it was. Long before modern theme parks, this attraction offered a full sensory experience. It combined movement, sound, visuals, and story into one continuous adventure. Today, this would be called a 4D ride, but Flash Gordon was doing it decades earlier. The ride proved that science fiction could be more than something you watched or read. It could be something you stepped into. And next, the hero's voice would become a mystery even the audience never expected. Half of Flash Gordon's voice isn't Sam J. Jones. During the making of Flash Gordon, things didn't just get strange on screen. Behind the scenes, a serious conflict changed the movie in a way most viewers never noticed. Lead actor Sam J. Jones had a major fallout with producer Dino De Laurentiis while filming was still underway. The disagreement became so intense that Jones walked off the production before all of his scenes were completed. This left the filmmakers in a difficult position. Reshoots were not an option, and replacing the lead actor entirely would have been too expensive. Instead, they made a quiet decision. Several of Flash Gordon's lines were dubbed over in post-production by British actor Peter Marinker. As a result, in multiple scenes, the heroic voice audiences hear does not belong to the man on screen. The dubbing was done carefully, but sharp-eared viewers can still notice changes in tone and accent. At the time, this solution kept the movie on track, but it came at a cost. Jones's conflict with the production hurt his reputation in Hollywood. He struggled to find major roles afterward, and his career never fully recovered. Years later, Jones openly discussed the situation in the documentary Life After Flash. The film explores his rise to fame, the fallout during Flash Gordon, and the long emotional impact of that experience. It gives a more personal look at what happened beyond the rumors. And next, the future of Flash Gordon almost takes a surprising animated turn. The trilogy that died immediately. When Flash Gordon was being made, it wasn't meant to be a one-and-done movie. The plan was bigger. Producer Dino De Laurentiis and the team expected the story to continue, and there were real hopes for sequels. The ending even feels like it's setting up the next chapter, with the sense that Flash's adventure isn't finished and that bigger threats could return. But the money didn't line up, especially in the United States. The film did better overseas, where audiences were often more open to its bright theatrical style. In the US, though, it struggled. Part of the problem was timing. The Empire Strikes Back had just raised the bar for what many people wanted from space movies: a more serious tone, smoother effects, and bigger emotional stakes. So, when Flash Gordon arrived with loud colors, exaggerated acting, and a purposely comic book feel, some viewers didn't know what to do with it. Many expected something closer to Star Wars and walked away confused or disappointed. Once the US box office results came in, the sequel momentum died fast. Studios don't keep expensive plans alive without strong returns. Sets were dismantled to clear space and cut losses. Contracts and options that could have supported follow-ups were dropped or allowed to expire. The idea of a trilogy didn't slowly fade, it basically stopped in its tracks. So Flash Gordon became a single, strange, self-contained burst of sci-fi style, instead of a long-running film series. And next, the behind-the-scenes chaos gets even louder when you see who helped make the movie's most unforgettable energy happen. How Flash Gordon shaped Scott Pilgrim. Director Edgar Wright has never been shy about his love for Flash Gordon. In interviews, including one with Kotaku, he openly called it his #1 influence when making Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. That connection might not seem obvious at first, but once you look closer, it's everywhere. One of the biggest shared elements is comic panel energy. Flash Gordon doesn't try to feel realistic. Scenes are bold, direct, and visually loud. Characters strike clear poses, emotions are big, and moments land fast. Scott Pilgrim uses the same approach. Instead of smooth realism, Wright cuts scenes sharply, freezes moments, and lets visuals hit with impact, just like panels snapping into place on a page. Sound design is another major link. In Flash Gordon, sound effects and music are dramatic and constant. Queen's soundtrack doesn't sit quietly in the background. It drives the action. Scott Pilgrim does the same thing. Punches, footsteps, and music cues are exaggerated and intentional. Sounds don't just support the action, they are part of the storytelling. Most importantly, both films choose stylized reality over realism. Neither one worries about how things would work in the real world. They focus on how things feel. Logic steps aside so emotion, rhythm, and fun can take control. That creative freedom is what Wright admired most. Flash Gordon showed him that committing fully to style can create a world audiences accept instantly, even when it breaks every rule. And next, the story shifts back to the actor behind Flash, who pushed his body further than anyone expected. They kept filming while the studio flooded. During the production of Flash Gordon, the crew dealt with a problem you'd never expect on a space movie set. A flood. A plumbing failure hit while filming was still underway, and parts of the studio ended up with water pooling on the floors. This wasn't a small spill. It soaked sections of the set, dampened costumes, and caused real worries about equipment, especially lights and cables that don't mix well with water. Normally, a disaster like that would force a shutdown. But Flash Gordon was already a complicated, expensive project, and stopping meant losing time, money, and momentum. Instead, the crew worked around the mess. Water was cleaned where possible, but not everything could be fully fixed or rebuilt on the schedule they had. Some areas stayed damp, and the production kept moving. That's why bits of this accident reportedly ended up in the finished film. In certain shots, if you look closely, surfaces appear shinier than they should, and floors can look slightly wet or reflective in ways that don't match the scene's design. The movie is already full of glossy costumes, bright lights, and smooth set pieces, so small signs of water damage could blend in without most viewers noticing. Keeping the footage was also practical. Reshooting would have been expensive, and the final cut still worked. If you enjoyed this video on the weird, chaotic world of Flash Gordon, hit like and subscribe for more.